can we not talk about my body? It's not like I haven't heard that one before, but it's my body of work. Get real. You can't touch me. If you want to go down that road, how about we both go backstage, we both piss in a couple of cups, and we'll see who's natural and who's not. Oh, you don't want to do that? It got really real on Dynamite. All right, let's go. Welcome to the Wrestle Chat Podcast. My name is the Ant-Man. I'm your host every week here on the show, and joined once again, back for another round, a staple on the Man-Child Chronicles, where they'll be coming soon to YouTube as well. More on that here in just a bit. Welcome, Michael Glavin. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Lots to talk about this week. Lots of really, not necessarily groundbreaking, but some earth movement happening. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Well, and also this, while not a full-blown wrestling program, but for sure wrestling-related, word just got announced this past week that NBC has canceled Young Rock after 3 seasons. Did you ever have a chance to watch any of Young Rock?
I didn't. I chose not to because knowing the way that Dwayne Johnson is concerned with his image, I imagine that it was a mixture of reality and the way he wished those situations would have gone. And so I never dove in, but 3 seasons on network television is nothing to shake a stick at.
No, you're right. If you get a chance to watch some of them, they did a really good job of matching up actors to who they were playing. A couple of them, Macho Man was really, really good. Who's the? I was trying to think who the guy. What did you? This Is Us. One of the guys from This Is Us plays Hillbilly Jim, and it just matched perfect. Yeah, it was. Seems like a weird combo. Coming up on August 5th, WWE is rolling into Ford Field for SummerSlam. And we want to hook you up with 2 tickets. Here, check this out. WWE's biggest premium live event of the summer is rolling into Detroit's Ford Field. It's the 2023 SummerSlam. And the Wrestle Chat Podcast wants to hook you up with 2 tickets on the lower level. Simply sign up before July 1st for your chance to win. Head over to WrestleChatPodcast.com/summer to get signed up today. Make sure you get over to WrestleChatPodcast.com/summer and get signed up before July 1st. That road to SummerSlam takes a detour over to London, England for Money in the Bank coming up on July 1st from the O2 Arena. And 2 more ladies were added to the women's ladder match on Raw this week. Those 2 have become rivals as of late. Becky Lynch and newcomer Zoe Stark. They join Zelina Vega here on Raw. If you have to pick from those 3 ladies right now, who would it be, and is the reason you wouldn't pick Zelina is because she's so short that she would have a slimmer chance of reaching the briefcase?
That is part of it. They would have to have. If you remember years ago, the Big Show was in a Money in the Bank ladder match, and they had to build a special ladder for the Big Show.
That's right.
And for Zelina, I don't know if they put multiple ladders on top of each other. I don't know if we go full Jeff Hardy and pull out the 65-foot ladder or whatever we do, but probably not Zelina. You know, I'm going to, while we don't know who's going to round out the match yet, I would not mind seeing Zoe Stark take it. It's probably a little early in her career, especially with her being a heater for Trish, but there's a lot of potential there, and she's doing a lot of things right in a very short period of time, so I would love to see her with a little bit of steam behind her.
Well, I have a feeling, though, that the feud between Zoe and Becky could cancel each of those ladies out in this match. Yep. 2 more were added on SmackDown, which we'll get to coming up here shortly. Let's move over to Cody joining The Miz for Miz TV. It was nice seeing Cody drop the mic in there. I don't know if you noticed, but it looked like Miz was channeling his inner Usi Sami Zayn with his dance moves during Cody's music, so much so it even got a comment from Corey Graves during this episode. But what a surprise to see Dom and Mommy as a surprise guest from The Miz. Cody looked as confused as we were. Why is Dom the special guest on here? Why is he out here? And we quickly found out Dom brought up to Cody, don't you have a little girl? You should be home with her, but instead you're here. And just like Ray, you're a deadbeat dad. Cody's response was just classic, poking fun of Dom's 15 minutes in prison and how Dominic's prison tattoo is worse than the one Cody has on his neck. But the line that pushed it over the top, I think, I know Ray's made some mistakes, and I know that, because I'm looking at one.
Oof.
Wow. And then Dom, of course, got the slap and run. What'd you think about this entire interaction on Miz TV?
It was really, really great. And look, here's the thing about what we're dealing with right now in the WWE is that for the first time in potentially a very, very long time, we are actually seeing long-term booking in play. And I will probably reference this multiple times throughout this episode, but seeing all of the interweaving storylines that are going in and out of each other. Not that these are, what we're not seeing is these hardcore, concreted, linear storylines. We're seeing these characters weave in and out of each other's lanes as it should be. You know, for a while, wrestling was treated as if these people only ever saw each other on this side of the LED wall. But you always ask that question, like, weren't they both in Gorilla together just now?
Exactly. Or what happens the other 6 days of the week?
Exactly. And so what we're seeing now is a more well-rounded story. So to see somebody with nuclear heat like Dominic Mysterio has to come out and just kick some dirt around, and to see someone in Cody's position be able to retaliate and talk some smack and things like that. Is it really turning into something long-term story-wise? No, but it was two guys playing their character in front of us for us to see, and it was done really, really well. The only other part that I'm not sure if you caught it or not that you didn't reference was Cody dropped some line in regards to, yes, Dom, you've seen hard times indeed, being very, very sly about the way he said that. So definitely a shout out to his dad with that little hard times, sure. Daddy, hard times. But yeah, great segment overall.
That is a really good pickup there, because I think what is good about this as well is so often we see stories that just it goes back and forth and back and forth. This guy gets a win, that guy gets a win. This guy gets a win, that guy gets a win, and it's like you come out and you see, well, those two are now facing each other, but it's in a tag team match. It's like there's not any. They wring it dry. At least this was just out of the blue, but it was also the guy that the WWE, and well, us too, I think, in a lot of respects, want to see cheered the most, and the guy who's already getting booed the most. And you put them together.
By a lot.
So, exactly. I love that part. So I'm anxious to see what happens more here, and I hope something more happens with these two, and maybe they were just getting a little taste test of what these two might have, what kind of chemistry they might have in the ring, and just the fact that how chicken Dom is and runs behind Rhea is just so heelish and so good, man. Especially for his age. Man. I know he grew up in the business, seeing it, watching it, but doing it is completely different than seeing and watching it. And the way he's performing is just fantastic.
Yep.
I love it all. We are sad to see the passing of the Iron Sheik this week. A&E had the Iron Sheik biography a couple of months ago, and I know they're doing a special encore coming up on Sunday, on tomorrow, as this episode drops. But just a spectacular athlete all around. He wrestled for Iran in the Olympics, really was from Iran. And he escaped to America, was a wrestling coach for an American team, soon got into sports entertainment, and boy, did he leave his mark, playing on the political tension with his home country in the late 80s and the early 90s. The Iron Sheik became the most hated heel of his time, so much so that Sergeant Slaughter even said that he feared for Sheik's life several times. I personally loved his tweets. His tweets were so classic, but something I really remember, and maybe not many will talk about, is the Sheik that I remember as a kid about him was when he was on Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling cartoon. He played the heel there too, with his plans always being foiled. Any special memory of the Iron Sheik for you, Mike?
You stole a little bit of my thunder with referencing Twitter. Here's the thing. I'm not going to pretend to assume that the Iron Sheik's passionate relationship with Hulk Hogan is a work or if it's real life.
Sure.
If you had to pin me down, I'd probably say it's pretty real. And
possibly,
as much as Hulk Hogan has contributed to the business, the dude has done some questionable things and some questionable business practices at certain moments in his life. And the Sheik was not afraid to call it out till the day he moved on from this world.
He sure wasn't. Like the day of, I think. Yeah. You're right.
If there's one thing that you can count on Twitter, it was Donald Trump and the Iron Sheik. And so, but if I was to pick, obviously a wrestling moment as well, his win over Bob Backlund cannot be missed at all. I mean, Bob Backlund, one of the longest title holders in all of wrestling history. And for that win to have happened and for that, for the Iron Sheik to have done that is a huge testament to who he was as a person, as a character. And those two are probably some of my favorite things about the Iron Sheik.
Often seen as a transitional champion when he won that title to move on to Hulk Hogan. But man, I don't think I've seen a transitional champion leave as big of a mark as the Iron Sheik did. And we'll miss you, Sheiky. It has been interesting to see WWE's inclusion of NXT crossing over superstars, brands, conversations into other shows, and really trying hard to elevate that brand once again to where it was before splattered paint colors took over and some other people got in charge. This week, a unique way to call someone up was Braun Breaker challenging the new world champ, not Roman Reigns, I almost said Roman Reigns, but Seth freaking Rollins to a title match. No, not on Raw, on NXT coming up on Tuesday. How cool is that?
Dude, long-term storytelling.
Yeah. Right?
We are laying seeds that we are now in a true universe of brands and superstars, and what we are finally seeing. Like, you look at the Marvel model. When Thor came out, when Captain America came out, what seems like all those years ago now, what people didn't realize at the time is that those were previews for movies to come in the Avengers. And we're seeing something so similar right now with these sprinkles of the crossover with Baron Corbin, Mustafa Ali, and now Carmelo Hayes and his guys coming in and sitting in on a SmackDown, and Braun Breaker calling out Seth Rollins. Now, hold on. I have to sidebar for 1 second. Are we going to get sued if we just call him Seth Rollins, or are we legally obligated to have to call him Seth freaking Rollins?
I don't think that's what we're going to get sued for, so go for it.
But all of these things are doing a favor to these new guys. New guys in wrestling are hard because you have to get emotionally attached to them. You have to get vested into what they're doing. And you can't, the days of calling up someone like a John Cena, ruthless aggression stuff, that stuff is 1 in a million. You can't always bank on somebody succeeding in a do or die moment like that. And so what we are seeing is the perfect world of long-term storytelling. And it's just very, very clear that what feels like for the first time ever that Hunter Hearst Helmsley has got his claws dug into everything that he wants to do. And I feel like we are starting to see the blooming and the blossoming of everything he's been trying to get to for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch that too. Before we move over to the guys on Wednesday, AEW, last night you, John, Jay, and Ryan dropped a new episode of the Man-Child Chronicles. What's up this week with you guys?
Well, we are now officially promoting that July 7th will be our debut to video. So just under a month away. We are hard at work, in the writer's room that doesn't exist, coming up with some fun content to bring to you guys. This week, if you guys want to check out episode 72, we played a fun game of Would You Rather that had a interesting and slight dark humor tinge to it at the end of it. It involved Mountain Dew, and so I'll let that tease kind of hang out there. But lots of great moments this week. Told some fun stories. Definitely don't want to miss episode 72 of the Man-Child Chronicles podcast. Everywhere that you listen to Wrestle Chat podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube in anticipation for July 7th.
Yeah, get ready for that. You can just scroll down onto other channels we love. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, scroll down on our channel that says other channels we love and click on the Man-Child Chronicles and make sure you hit subscribe. You'll be ready to go on July 7th. I can't wait for that. AEW this week, we witnessed a very raw and real exchange in a matchup I personally was hoping to see sooner rather than later, and that's MJF and Adam Cole, baby. Man, the insults cut deep. MJF bringing up Adam's time at NXT, saying this: I read a nasty rumor online. I read that a certain guy in Titan Towers didn't think you had top guy potential, and that guy's name was Vince McMahon. How do you not see top guy in Adam Cole? But now that I'm standing in the ring with you, I think Vince was right. MJF even made a reference to Adam Cole's body. A lot of people have talked about how he doesn't necessarily look like some of the big guys in wrestling. And Adam's response: can we not talk about my body? It's not like I haven't heard that one before, but it's my body of work. Get real. You can't touch me. If you want to go down that road, how about we both go backstage, we both piss in a couple of cups, and we'll see who's natural and who's not. Oh, you don't want to do that? It got really real on Dynamite this Wednesday. For the diehard purists, though, the announcement of Bryan Danielson versus Okada at Forbidden Door is a once-in-a-lifetime match. I've personally never been big on Japanese wrestling. I know that sounds like, sacrilegious in the wrestling world, but I watched a little bit of New Japan when JR was calling the replays. But I've heard Okada's name for a long, long time and how great Okada is. And I know that this match is going to be one that gets talked about for many, many years to come. And for the fact that it's going to be up in Canada, it's going to be an AEW show, Forbidden Door. Man, it's going to be exciting to see what happens there. I know we're going to see highlights afterward. I know that some of you may buy the pay-per-view. You should. I can tell you that with just 2 matches on this show, it's worth what it costs. Another Collision announcement this week from Tony was this, once again, a mixed reactions, though, and it's not because of the match, it's because of who's in it. 1 week from tonight, AEW Collision comes to TNT, and the main event is Jay White, Juice Robinson, Samoa Joe, all taking on FTR, Big Pause, CM Punk. The reactions are cheers and boos, cheers and boos, cheers and boos. I fear that Punk kind of moved from the can't miss guy to being a very polarizing guy. Although I do know that some will pay their money to be there to boo this man. Would you pay your money to boo him now?
I would still pay to boo him, but here's the thing. What we've reached is we're at critical mass on the topic of CM Punk. I've said multiple times, I am a CM Punk fan. I loved his body of work in the WWE. He's got a great ring presence about him. I've watched, however many documentaries exist about him, 1, 2, 3, however many there are. He's got a great story as a human being, overcoming a lot of things. But with great success comes the unfortunate ability to not really care about whether you stick around or not. And so, everybody took his belly aching in WWE as probably legitimate, because there was a lot of politics that went around in WWE.
Sure.
When you start pulling the same stuff and the same old pipe bombs and the same old finger pointing in a completely new metaphoric arena against people that really don't have a track record except being nice people.
Yeah.
It just loses its fun. And so I think on Collision, in what otherwise will be a fantastic match, we are going to see what the next couple years looks like for CM Punk, because when he comes out, that response is going to dictate his draw for a good long time. And what we may see is another 2-3 year hiatus for everything to, cool down, and then he becomes a part-timer. But I feel for him because not all press is good press. And so I hope he can kind of crawl his way out of this, but, you know, he also is who he is. So I wish him nothing but success, and I want to see him. I want to pay money for him, but he just needs to not stand in his own way.
Well, and I'll contradict maybe a little bit of what you said, is that I do agree with a lot of that, but I'm not sure that it's as long as you think that it might be. I think that, one, his body didn't hold up very well the first time back.
Nope.
He didn't do well in the UFC. He has people that hate him now, and it won't really be episode number 1 of Collision that does anything for him. It'll be episode number 2, when it's not in his backyard, when it's not in Chicago, when it's in a place that you do get boos and you do get cheers. And maybe sometimes oftentimes you may get more boos than you do cheers. And what is that going to look like? And how's that going to dictate the character that we see on TV as well? That part I'm anxious to see. So 1 week from tonight, Collision comes to TNT, and I'm looking forward to that. I want to remind you again, if you haven't signed up to win the tickets to SummerSlam, that's coming up soon. July 1st is when the contest is cut off because, well, we've got to draw a winner. You got to have time to make your plans to head to Detroit. You'll have tickets to the show. Want to get you signed up right now. WrestleChatPodcast.com/summer. WrestleChatPodcast.com/summer. Some of you that are watching right now have already signed up. Some of you are here for the first time because you signed up. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't signed up yet, go do that now on the website, WrestleChatPodcast.com/summer. You have until July 1st. Before we get to SummerSlam, we got to head overseas to London's O2 Arena. A few more added to the Money in the Bank ladder matches during the Mustafa Ali Santos match. Money in the Bank favorite at the moment, LA Knight, came to ringside to call the match. Huge prop from this crowd. Even a giant "yeah" sign up in the crowd. Everybody had a different letter. How are you feeling about LA Knight at this point in time and his chances in the Money in the Bank ladder match?
Strap the rocket and light the fuse.
Please.
But at the same time, he's getting the face time that he so desperately needs, and I don't want it to go away, so part of me doesn't want it as quickly as I want it. and so I'm okay with a slow burn with how much we're seeing him, but my God, that guy is just so good.
Hey, check this tweet out. This is from White Canary 007. Can we have LA Knight on commentary all night, please, and thank you. I second this notion from White Canary 007 because I was right there with you. Anytime you can get a mic in LA Knight's hand, I'm right there for it. And Santos Escobar won that match and is added to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match along with LA Knight, who won last week. On the women's side, both Bayley and Io were added to the women's, joining Becky, Zelina, and Zoe with only 1 spot left right now. Any guesses? Any guesses on who that final ladies spot will end up going to?
Well, maybe we could use this as a little bit of a transition point, but I'll say begrudgingly and partially not seriously, let's just give it to Charlotte Flair since she can disappear for forever and just walk in the door and get whatever she wants.
It depends on if she wants it. If she wants it and she comes in and says that she wants it, then she'll have it, right?
She is the Brock Lesnar of the women's division, except we're not excited when she shows up. Like, I'm not trying to be mean. Like, she's a good worker. You know, she obviously comes from great lineage. But man, it's just like she got to 14 or 15 title reigns, whatever it is, faster than I was able to take my daily in the bathroom. And so it's just like, it doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel.
I agree with you on that.
It was just given too quickly. And I hope that we just slow our roll on Charlotte Flair and just let's let it breathe for a minute.
I just wondered, did they put in, listen, in the spirit of us keeping things positive on the show, we really do try, but we also want to be honest, and there are a lot of places and a lot of people who just absolutely dote on her all the time. And I think a lot of it is because she's Rick's daughter. And even she said before, this is not something she wanted.
Yeah.
This isn't something she strived to be. I just wonder if those in charge were wondering and were fearful that we wouldn't want her, so they pushed her on us for so long. If they would have just let us want her, then maybe it would be a lot more accepted that she comes out. We'll hit that here in just a second, but I'm right there with you. I don't hate Charlotte. In fact, I've seen her on Steve Austin's show, and I was like, oh, I really like her. I don't know why I hate her so much in the ring. And then she gets in the ring, and I'm like, I don't want to see her in that aspect.
And her crowd reception was great.
It was great. It was great. Well, let's move over to this real quick. AJ Styles was ringside during Meechan's match, and that's where she lost to Bayley. Following her loss, Scarlett showed up, and she blew what they called Scarlet Fever dust in AJ's face, making way for Karrion Kross to attack AJ. I'll be honest, I love the surprises and the psychology that Scarlett and Karrion use to pick their new opponents and how they approach these. It's not just a steel pipe to the back of the knee or anything like that. It's very creative. It's out of the blue, and it all fits with their characters and where they are right now in the WWE. I think it is so incredibly creative. What about you?
Yep. So you have to have your characters in WWE that are very over the top. Take The Undertaker. Take Bray Wyatt / The Fiend. But
I hope he comes back soon.
Yes, absolutely. But to have this very practical approach to a character is also something that you need. Yeah. And so to have someone who has this type of occult character a little bit, but just the fact that it's so practical, okay? It's Scarlet Fever dust. We're not reading too much into it. We're not telling a big story around it. We're just trying to blind some people. That's all we're doing. And so it's very, very tasteful. As a side note, Tajiri has to be so proud of all the spitting that's happening across all of, between Asuka and Scarlett now. Yep. Tajiri's just like, I am going to be a Hall of Famer, if nothing else than the green mist.
That's so good, and I love it too. I think that, I mentioned, I just love how creative they are with it, and it's not the same old same, and it doesn't happen when you're expecting it. Right. I didn't think twice about AJ being at ringside, helping call the match that he was watching in the ring, because his group member was in the ring, and very easily she could have lost. He could have consoled her. They walked to the back, into the story. Nobody would have thought anything else. But instead, they chose to help pull another little thread that goes, oh, what about this over here? Yeah. And just the fact that they go, it's like them just picking. You know what? I'm going to pick who we're going to fight next.
And notice,
she blows it in their face.
And notice since the draft how much wrestling we're getting not on the ramp. Because to your point,
true.
In previous months, years, whatever, all of that would have taken place right in front of the LED screen on the way back up the ramp. But we are expanding the boundaries of where story can happen. And, I will be quick to give Hunter as much credit as humanly possible. Not that Vince did anything wrong, but Hunter is expanding the boundaries of where stories can be told, and I'm here all day for it.
That's a great point. I love that. Before we finish off with the Bloodline story, let's talk about the women's title. At least one of them. We got a notice midday on Friday that Asuka was getting a new women's title. Not a new Raw women's title and not a new SmackDown women's title, a new women's title. And there was a reason they said that. A few surprises here. One, the title that she got actually says Undisputed, meaning, well, Rhea's title effectively becomes meaningless. If there were hopes that we're going to be, things were going to be cleared up on SmackDown, boy, we were in for a surprise, because it was anything but clarity in this. Bianca wants a shot at it. Charlotte shows up. She wants a shot at it. And to be honest, there's still no clarity. How do you make sense of all this mess with the women's titles right now? I feel like that I'm optimistic in this, that it will shake out and we're going to go, oh my gosh, that was great. Right now I'm going, somebody just didn't clean up their mess. What happened here?
I think this is just a speed bump. I don't, with everything else in the universe going so well, I cannot in good faith believe this is a dropped ball. I think what this is a Band-Aid rip to get us where we need to be. So I imagine this is going to get addressed on Monday.
I think so too.
I was iffy about Roman's new title with the black and the gold, but the same type of blueprint on the white, I was like, ooh.
It actually looks good.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy with the way that shook out. I'll tell you something. If I'm hopeful of anything, it will be that Rhea is awarded a new Women's World Heavyweight Championship with a big gold-esque style belt, maybe on white. We've seen that from the aftermarket or belt makers or whatever. But to have an official
straps,
an official WWE big gold-esque on white, that would get my blood going a little bit. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, and they would fit the brands that they're on as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm so glad to see that we're shifting that direction because, with the men's titles, we had, the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship, but the women's just always felt so watered down with the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championship. It didn't have any prestige to it. So Asuka getting this new title is definitely headed towards something, but unfortunately we're just going to have to kind of sit tight and be patient as we rip the Band-Aid to get to where we need to go.
Well, from that train wreck to this masterpiece, the story of the Bloodline continues to get more and more interesting, kicking off SmackDown where they left off last week. Where does Jay's loyalty lie? Is it going to be with his brother Jimmy or with the tribal chief? And unlike the women's title confusion, the lack of answers in this Bloodline story only actually leave me wanting more. And after Jay's match with Austin Theory, we were left with even more questions. I think the thought is the match at Money in the Bank is going to end up being Roman and Solo versus Jimmy and Jay, but I don't want to jump right into that. How do you feel about the way this is going again this week?
It's just so good. Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. Roman has never necessarily been portrayed as evil or manipulative per se, or at least intentionally. But this week was yet another layer of the onion where Paul Heyman, on behalf of the tribal chief, starts playing these partially gaslighting, partially manipulative mind games to see. And here's the thing. I'm going to be super real with you right now. I can't ever tell the twins apart. Even now, I watched the show last night the whole time, and I'm like, Jimmy J, whoever. So whoever was Paul Heyman was talking to, it's Jay. It was Jay.
Jay has short hair. Jimmy has long hair.
Yeah. So Jay all night being told, like, for the first time, hey man, you could be the next guy. Roman, the tribal chief, he wants you. You can be on the jet.
You're the chosen one.
You can wear the suit. You're the chosen one. And it adds this not evil, but maniacal layer now to the bloodline that is just so good. And now you're setting up with tension between all three brothers individually, and then some of the brothers against Roman, and Roman against some of the brothers, and some of the brothers are on this side of the fence and that side of the fence, and whoever is writing this backstage, my God, give them a raise, lock them in a closet, and don't let them go anywhere because they keep doing it right.
Well, from what I understand, I think it's all Paul Heyman.
Well,
I may be wrong about that. That's what I've heard.
As Rocky, if that's the case, as weird as we've heard his backstage relationships are over the years, we're proving yet again that he is a genius should that be the case, but definitely a genius that needs boundaries. We know that.
Yep. Well, this week in all of this has left in every show, in Raw, in Dynamite, in SmackDown, they've all left me excited about the next episode, whether it's the next episode of Raw leading into the next episode of SmackDown ending on the women's stuff. What are we going to see on Raw? A Dynamite. I can't wait till Collision gets into the mix. I want to see how they play across from Dynamite to Collision and how they build that, because they are, we often compare, a lot of people compare the two, WWE and AEW. AEW is an infant, and they're getting weaned off milk right now, but they're doing really, really, really well. To have 65, almost 70,000 tickets sold for a show that they don't have even matches for yet. I mean, they've only announced CM Punk as a part of Collision. They haven't said he's wrestling anyone at this match at All In coming up and at Wembley Stadium. To have done that, they've exceeded, I think, where they really should be as far as how fearful they are right now. So when we talk about being patient in storylines, we need to be really patient with them, because they are doing really good things. They're making mistakes, and I feel that they're learning from some of those. I think a lot of people thought that Switchblade Jay White was just going to come in, make a big pop, and get buried. He has shown anything but with AEW. He's going to be in the main event with CM Punk coming up next Saturday. So I'm excited about that. But all that to say, every one of these has led to me anticipating and excited about the next episode. And the big thing, even with a 3-hour show on Raw, all of it has left me wanting more. And so I'm excited about all of this.
And just to build on that, if you're somebody that is watching the current product, I'll speak more to the WWE since you spoke towards AEW.
Yeah.
If you're someone who's watching WWE right now and you are complaining about any more than one thing, you're not paying attention. Because I would argue, and this will be a very controversial statement, I would argue that we are in the best season of wrestling since the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And that's saying a lot, because there's been a lot of great things that have happened. In the early 2010s, we got things like the Elimination Chamber and, a lot of Hell in a Cell matches in that time. Well, there's been a lot of good stuff that's happened in the 2010s, between now and the Attitude Era. But from an overall booking standpoint, from a 50,000 feet, how is the show? Do I want to watch the show? We are in the best season of wrestling in over a decade. And I do not want to miss the opportunity to give credit to everyone from the back office all the way to the people in the ring. I am excited to watch wrestling right now. And it's because as a whole, the shows are good. They are intentional and they are quality. So from one guy talking on a podcast, a guest slot on a podcast, thank you to all the people that are making it happen, because it's making me happy and giving me an escape from life 1 hour at a time.
I'll agree with you and go one step further. I think in some instances, it might be better in some places than even the Attitude Era. I'm not saying all of it. I'm just saying in some places. Nobody freak out.
Boy, you can hear the booze through the internet.
You can, right then. So much so that I don't even want to type it. You can type them too. You can type the booze. That's fine as well. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you chiming in, and we love it when you get involved in the show as well. So please do leave a comment. Let us know what you think of the show. Make sure you check out the website, WrestleChatPodcast.com. There you can check out some merchandise that we have, brand new. You can also check out a way for you to be with us in Detroit at Ford Field for SummerSlam this year. Hurry and get that done. Only a couple of weeks left for you to get signed up. Michael, it's been fun hanging out with you again this week. Such fun shows to watch and a fun show to talk with you about here as well.
Thanks so much for having me. Love being here with you. Appreciate it.
Make sure you guys follow us on Instagram too. It's Wrestle Chat Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.